Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to share a haunting story from just a few weeks ago, one that still gives me chills. It's about fear, loneliness, and the darkness that can creep into our lives when we least expect it. So grab a snack, get comfy, and let's dive in. It all began when I was packing my things in my hostel room with my mum and dad beside me. Their faces reflected a hint of dejection. Why? Because I was leaving the hostel and my institute just 15 days after finally starting offline classes. There was a silence in the room, but inside me, a storm was brewing, one I couldn't share with anyone. What happened during those 2 weeks? Let's rewind to when this all started. COVID-19 restrictions were easing, and hostels were finally reopening. I was both excited and anxious about living away from home for the first time. My parents and I visited several hostels, and at the first one, I was immediately put off. It was cramped, dark, and shared bathrooms. No, thank you. Eventually, we found another place that seemed better, but little did I know, it would soon feel like a deep, dark abyss. The first day was smooth. I settled in and unpacked my things. But as night fell, everything changed. My room was at the far end of the floor, the last one on the second floor. I thought it would be quieter for studying, but I was unprepared for the haunting silence that enveloped me. Around 1 a.m., I was trying to fall asleep when my laptop, which was charging, jolted me awake. It started playing an audio lecture from our physics teacher. I panicked, thinking I had left something open. I shut it off and tried to get back to sleep, but little did I know that would be the last decent sleep I'd have for weeks. The next morning I encountered the floor warden. Usually kind, she didn't look pleased. "Beta, why were you studying all night? You should have used headphones. I could hear you faintly during my rounds." Confused, I insisted I hadn't been studying. This misunderstanding became routine, with her warning me more sternly each day about my so-called late-night study sessions. Then one evening, I met a guy from the second year, a dropper who'd been there for 3.5 years. He looked at me with wide eyes. "You're pretty courageous, man. Don't you know what happened in your room?" I was baffled. He revealed that my room had just reopened after a classmate of his had committed suicide in there. The poor guy had been humiliated by our physics teacher for not finishing his work. My heart sank. The very teacher whose lecture had blasted through my room that night. The realization hit me hard. When I heard the warden's complaints, I felt an icy grip around my heart. I couldn't afford to leave the hostel, and the warden was unsympathetic to my plight. The nights grew more haunting. Every creak of the Almira and every tap on the wall sent chills racing through me. Then came the fifth night. It was 2 a.m. when I heard a loud bang on the bathroom door next to my room. It was so intense that the warden rushed to check on me. My heart raced, a whirlwind of fear and confusion. I couldn't take it anymore. In desperation, I sought solace in my beliefs. I started playing soft prayers on my phone while I slept, thinking it would ward off any negative energy. For a while, it worked. I felt a sense of peace. Until the 14th night. I woke up suddenly, realizing the prayers had stopped. Panic washed over me. I glanced at my phone and found it had mysteriously moved diagonally across the room from where I'd left it. I was terrified and could no longer rationalize what was happening. In a rush of adrenaline, I ran to the warden's office and borrowed her phone to call my parents. The fear in my voice must have alarmed them because they agreed to come pick me up in the morning. I couldn't go back to my room. Instead, I spent the night on a chair beside the night warden's desk, my eyes fixed on the door of my room. When my parents arrived, I didn't tell them everything. I couldn't bring myself to share the darkness that had invaded my life so quickly. As we packed my things, I could see the disappointment on their faces, disappointment for the opportunity I was letting slip away. But as I looked around the room, I felt relief wash over me. I was leaving a nightmare behind, and even though I didn't share it with my parents, I knew I had to escape that place. We all have our battles, some are visible, and some lurk silently in the shadows. As I closed the door to my hostel room one last time, a weight lifted off my shoulders. I might not have all the answers, but I knew I had escaped a deep, dark abyss. So, if you ever find yourself in a situation that feels wrong, trust your instincts. Sometimes the fear you feel is trying to tell you something important. Thanks for listening to my story, and remember, you're never alone in your struggles. Until next time, take care and stay safe.